So we'll give it just one more minute and then we'll get started. So, yes, we are going to start in standing tonight, do a gentle standing sequence, and then move into our restorative practice. And so, a couple of things for our restorative practice. If you don't have a bolster, if you have an extra yoga mat, if you have a pillow, if you have a blanket you can roll up, if you are okay actually using your yoga mat, if you don't have an extra one, rolling it up and then just like lying on your floor, if you're okay with that for two of the restorative postures. Not a must, not a must, but a really, really, really nice to have for the two of the restorative postures that we're going to do tonight. Would be nice for all of them, but specifically for two, that prop would come in handy. So again, a blanket you can roll up, a pillow. If you have a pillow that looks like a bolster, I know sometimes couches have that. So grab that and anything that will make your shavasana nice and juicy. So your eye pillow, anything to gently cover the eyes, a scarf, your spray, your crystals, anything that will make your shavasana nice and juicy. There's Jackie's face. All right. Well, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. My usual disclaimer, if you see me running up to the screen, that's just to let some other folks in who might still be joining us. And I may mention this again once we flip into our restorative practice, but just in case I forget, what I'm going to do is demonstrate the restorative postures, hold it for about a minute, and then I'm going to come out just so I'm just like watching the scene while you all are resting, which is what I would do if we were in a physical space together. So just so I can kind of like watch the clock and do all that good stuff. So, all right, yogis, let's get to it. Coming into mountain pose at the top of the mat, or if you want to stand in the center of your mat, if that feels good for you, I'm going to turn to face the camera. So I had mentioned maybe in a couple of classes, I had something going on with my shoulder. I figured it was just kind of like repetition stuff from doing all the things for 10 years from teaching yoga. And it does turn out I have a little inflammation, a little impingement going on in my rotator cuff. Went for my first physical therapy session yesterday and learned that I tend to roll my shoulders forward. And I see that sometimes when I watch videos, it's just a bad habit. I'm like yoga teacher with the worst posture, but I do. I tend to roll my shoulders forward. And it turns out that some of this that I'm feeling, some of it is age, but some of what I'm feeling actually has to do with these shoulders rolling forward. And it's just kind of pulling and yanking on things. So I'm like, I'm going to make sure we all have our shoulders in place because if you're feeling anything funky in your shoulder, something similar, or just to help you avoid feeling anything funky in your shoulder as we're in mountain pose, I'm probably going to seem like I'm focusing on our shoulders ad nauseum tonight. But as I learn and heal, I love to learn or share what I learn. All right, so mountain pose, feet can either be touching or a few inches apart, whatever feels good for you. We'll just take a moment to get our foundation, then we'll really focus on our shoulders. If it feels good, you can close the eyes and just listen to the sound of my voice, letting the lids softly close over the eyes if you choose to close them, or finding a soft gaze, maybe closing the eyes just halfway, or gently focusing your gaze somewhere in your room or on the floor. First, bringing awareness to your feet, the foundation of this posture. You might lift up all of your toes and let them down one by one, just to feel a sense of grounding and connection with your mat. You might also feel like a nice toe stretch. And then just feel yourself ground down through all the corners of the feet, the top left and right corners, the bottom left and right corners, the inner edges of your feet, the outer edges, the balls of the feet, the center, the heels. Just really feeling yourself connected to the mat, to the earth. If you're feeling a little unsteady, so we are moving through eclipse energy this week. Mercury is retrograde, I think until about April 24th or 25th. So if you feel like you have been knocked off your rocker this week, this will be a really good way to just create that sense of steadiness, right? That sense of being rooted. And so here you might picture the color red as you envision your root chakra, which is the foundation of all the chakras. You might even picture roots shooting from your feet, penetrating the earth, really helping to anchor you here. And we'll soon be moving out of this Aries season into Taurus season, and Taurus is an earth sign. And so in that way, we may begin to feel like we're landing, we're grounding once we shift from Aries, which is fire and warrior, to Taurus, which is earth and foundation and values and all of that good stuff. So support is on the way astrologically. Soften your knees, squeeze your thighs. The arms can either rest here by the sides with the palms facing forward, or if it feels like support, to place hands on your hips, whatever feels good. Light, very slight tuck of the tailbone. So we want to make sure we're not pressing our pelvis all the way forward, but we're not sticking our tailbone out. So really think of the spine nice and long with that very slight tuck of the tailbone, which helps to stabilize the pelvis, torso nice and long, muscles of the face relaxed, teeth unclenched. And now let's take a moment to bring awareness to the shoulders. So if you feel like your shoulders are dropping forward or rolling forward, draw the shoulders up to the ears. Press the shoulder blades back into each other and down the back. And what I love that my physical therapist taught me is like, or what he said is, it's like you're trying to draw the shoulder blades down into back pockets of like your jeans. So I love that because I give a similar cue when we are doing a modified version of camel pose. I'll say place hands on your back as though you were placing hands in back pockets. So you want to feel like you're drawing your shoulder blades down into back pockets. And I love that cue because I could really see that and feel that. So you might do that 2 or 3 times. Roll the shoulders up to the ears, press the shoulders back, feel those shoulder blades draw into each other and down the back. And so what I realized, particularly as women, right, we have things anatomically that when we stand up straight, it's like we're pressing those anatomical things out, and we can be self-conscious of that. So sometimes I think that's what it is with me. Sometimes it's just, we're just comfortable in our posture and the shoulders roll. Sometimes it's a reflection of our confidence when our posture is not just sort of erect. So trying to shake all of those things off, pressing the heart forward, giving no mind to those anatomical things. And really just focusing on tall spine, soft shoulders, but engaged shoulder blades. And you're really hopefully noticing that difference from just sort of being there and kind of rounded to really being here and standing with purpose. Picture a string at the top of the head being pulled, helping you find even more length to your spine. And again, keep softness in the knees so that you're not locking your knees. And when you gently squeeze the thighs, this helps to support the knees. So squeeze your thighs, anchor down through the feet, and draw those shoulder blades down your back and into back pockets. And let's pause here for 5 beautiful cycles of breath, and then we'll begin to add some movement here to our practice, noticing the expansion of your belly as you breathe in, and how the navel gently falls back to the spine as you breathe out. Keep the shoulder blades pressed back and down. Inhale, fill the belly, fill your lungs, fill your chest. Exhale, releasing the air from the chest, the lungs, the belly. And as we explore these last few breaths, if it speaks to you to set an intention for your practice today, you might state that intention out loud. You might say it to yourself. You might place a hand on your heart as you speak your intention to yourself. And if there is no intention for the practice, that's okay. Maybe it's just showing up. It's just being here. It's choosing this time for yourself. Anchoring your mind to your breath so that you're just noticing this rhythm of the inhales and the exhales. Breathing in, filling belly, lungs, chest. And exhale, chest, lungs, and belly. One more deep breath in here. And exhale. Releasing all of the air. Good. Now, keeping that awareness of the shoulders, we're going to open up to some side stretching. You can keep the eyes closed if that feels good, or if and when you feel ready to open the eyes. You can gently let the eyes flutter open. We're going to gently reach those arms up above the head. Take hold of the left wrist with the right hand. Inhale as you gently pull that left arm up. Exhale as you gently pull that arm to the right side. Press that left shoulder back. So in other words, left shoulder isn't rolling forward. That chest is nice and open. And you want to notice that you're not resting the right ear onto the right shoulder. Now, if you want to release the wrist and interlace your fingers, all fingers except your pointer fingers and your thumb, if that feels better for you, you can do that. Otherwise, hold on to the wrist, keep pressing those shoulders back. If we were in space together, I would come behind, gently pull that top arm, that left arm back to me, and then gently pull you to the right a little bit more. Breathe, little smile on the face. One more deep breath in. Exhale, pull to the right just a little bit more. Whew. Beautiful. Come back to center, release the left wrist, take hold of the right. Inhale, gently pull the arm up. Exhale to the left. Press that right arm back. So again, just avoiding the droopy shoulders. Space between left ear and left shoulder. Oh, this feels really good on this side for me. Notice what you notice. Does this feel better on this side? Does it feel equally as juicy? 3 more breaths here. Breathe into that right side. Deep inhale. Exhale. Pull to the left a little bit more. See if you can move with the breath. Inhale, breathe into the right side. Exhale and pull. One more full deep breath in. Hold for the exhale. Beautiful. Let's bring the arms back. As we exhale, we're going to release the hands behind the back. Take a little shoulder stretch here. So you can either interlace fingers behind your back, grab opposite wrists or opposite elbows, whatever feels good for you. Inhale, roll those shoulders back. Heart presses forward. Exhale, begin to lift the arms. If we were in space together, I would come behind you. Lift those arms a little bit more. Remember, it's that delicate dance between honoring any injuries you may have in the shoulders and moving beyond your comfort zone. Getting into the edge a little bit, getting into those shoulders a little bit more. If you want to take this into a forward fold, go ahead and do so. Bringing the shoulders towards the head, squeeze the thighs. You might even take a little bit of a soft bend to the knees here. And let's hold this for 3, 2. See if you can bring those arms up a little bit more. One more deep breath in. Exhale out. If you're in that forward fold, soft bend to the knees as you come back up to standing. Take your time here, yogis. Good. Release the hands to the lower back. You can release the elbows, fingers, whatever you're holding on to. Let's shake it out. Good. Do another little shoulder opener by way of hugging ourselves. You're going to reach the arms out straight in front, cross right arm on top of left or left on top of right. No worries, because we're going to do the opposite side. Reach the fingers around to those same shoulder blades and tell the shoulder blades, thank you, I love you. I'm going to take better care of you. Tell yourself, thank you, I love you. I'm going to take better care of you, right? Keep the elbows connected, lift the arms a little bit. Think of eagle pose when we lift the arms. That can help to facilitate a little bit more of an opening in the upper back here. Keep squeezing your thighs, yogis. Stay anchored down through the feet. Try not to collapse into the knees. Awareness in the core. Remember our core, even if we're not doing specific core activity, always keep that awareness in the core. That keeps us steady, balanced. Take one more deep breath in here. Exhale. Beautiful. Gently release, and let's take the other side. So whatever arm was on top before, opposite arm here. Reach the fingertips around. No worries if the fingertips don't reach the shoulder blades. You can still tell the shoulder blades thank you anyway. So reach what you can. Elbows stay connected. Lift the elbows. Not so high that like you're covering your face, but just enough that you're feeling that opening in the upper back. Tell yourself, I love you. Tell yourself, thank you. Tell yourself you're doing the best you can. Tell yourself something loving and positive. 3 more breaths here. Just noticing what you notice. 1 more deep breath in. Exhale out. Beautiful. Gently release the arms and shake out whatever you need to shake out. All right, yogis, let's go ahead and continue to move through our gentle movement. So I'm going to practice a high lunge tonight. Nothing super active or vinyasa-like, but just really taking our time getting into a high lunge. We can play around with the arms though. So we'll come to the top of the mat. I invite you here to bring hands to your waist. And then what we're going to do is bring that right knee up into the chest. We're going to see this a little bit later in the practice, bringing this knee in. So lift this knee, deep breath in, and then with the exhale, generous step back with that right foot. So first, let's see, plant your right foot where it is, and then make sure you have that 90-degree angle with your left knee, and then you can play around with that placement of the right foot. So if the right foot steps back too far or too close, you can play with that. Okay, if the heel is lifted a little bit to find that 90-degree angle and a nice stretch in the hips here. Good. So our hip points are pointing forward, both sets of toes pointing forward. So if your right foot's at that angle, that's more of a warrior one. We want both toes pointing forward. And then you can keep the hands on the waist if this feels supportive for you. You can reach the arms up in a traditional version of high lunge. Remember, you can take your cactus arms or goddess arms. You can play around with the shoulder opener again. If you want to take like warrior 3 arms, I was playing with this earlier, just reaching forward, keeping length in your spine, pressing the heart forward. See if that feels good for you. You might play around with bringing the arms up and then coming back into warrior 3. You might say, I'm just going to stay with high arms. You might want to bend that right knee a little bit. So just play around with what feels good for you here. Steady your gaze. Anchor down through the pad of the big left toe. And if you have the arms raised, turn those pinkies in slightly towards each other. Bring that awareness back to the shoulder blades. Draw those shoulder blades in and down. And let's just hold this for 3. Left thigh nice and steady. 2. 1 more full deep breath in. Exhale out. Nice and easy. Hands come back to the waist. We're going to step that right foot up. See if you can draw the knee into the chest, even if you had to tap your toe first like I did. And then go ahead and rest the foot down. Beautiful. Shake out whatever you need to shake out. And then let's take that to the opposite side. So we're going to start back, hands on waist. I just turned to the other side of the mat so I can switch my view here. Bring that left knee up, nice and steady. Here's where our core comes in, right? Keeping us steady here. Breath in. Exhale, generous step back. Woo, with that left foot. Get that 90-degree angle with your right knee. Both sets of toes pointing forward. Remember that back heel can lift or plant down. The torso facing forward. Inhale. Arms either sweep up. Cactus arms, goddess arms, shoulder opener, whatever feels good for you here. Again, you can take that little bend to the left knee if that feels good. You can take your warrior 3 arms, reaching forward. And again, if you have the arms raised, turn those pinkies in slightly towards each other, anchoring down through the pad of the big right toe. And holding here for 4 more breaths. Sink into that front thigh a little bit more. 2 more breaths here. 1 more deep breath in. Exhale out. Hands come to the waist. Bring that left knee up and into the chest. I cheated and rested my elbow on the wall. And then exhale, rest the leg down. Shake out what you need to shake out. Beautiful, yogis. All right. And now from here, we're going to play around with our tree pose and then play around with that knee balance again that we just did. So let's go ahead again, start with hands on our waist, shifting the weight evenly between the feet, just finding that groundedness and steadiness. And remember, in our tree pose, the standing leg, squeeze that thigh so that you're not just placing or dumping all of the weight onto the standing leg. That's what fatigues the leg. So as you squeeze that thigh and keep all those muscles active and engaged, that's going to support you as you're holding your tree pose. Let's go ahead and start lifting that right heel, taking this in stages. Stage one, tucking right heel against the left ankle. Stage two, foot below the knee. So right foot below the left knee, but above the ankle. Stage three, right foot on the left thigh. Squeeze your left thigh. Open up that right knee. Relax those left toes. Hand can stay on waist. Both arms can reach up. One arm can reach up as you hold on to the waist with the other hand. Maybe you want to kind of open up your arms, growing your tree. Good. Steady your gaze. String at the top of the head being pulled. Nice long spine here. Squeeze the thigh. Relax the face. Steadiness in the core, or through the core rather. So engage those core muscles. Relax the left toes for 3, 2. One more deep breath in. Hold for the exhale. Nice and easy. Take your time here, yogis. We're going to play around a little bit. Hands come to the waist. It's okay if the foot drops and you have to pick it back up, which is what I'm going to do. Lift that right knee. Good. Miss Barbara, you may remember when I used to do this in the community class on Mondays. I would like to play around and do this in that community class on Mondays. And then we can open up that right arm, open up the right knee, squeeze that left thigh, bring the knee in, open up the left arm, take the knee across a little bit, a little stretch for the outer right hip, bring the knee in, hand back to waist, release the leg, woof, shake out that left leg. So that's why I was saying, squeeze that left thigh as much as you can, because that standing leg is bearing all of the weight. So go ahead and make sure you're squeezing that thigh. So we played around with that on the right side. We know where we're going to go with the left side. No worries if your tree is not as, so if you have the right foot on the left thigh, your left foot may or may not be as balanced. Honor your body. All right, lifting that left heel. Squeeze that right thigh before you do anything else. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Left heel against right ankle, beneath or between the knee and the ankle, or on the thigh. See if I got it here. Beautiful. Torso faces forward. So we're not turning the torso to meet the knee. We keep the torso and the hips square and try to open up that knee from that space. But keep the torso and the hips square. Keep squeezing your right thigh. Good. Keep squeezing your right thigh. Grow your tree as you feel called to grow it. Pray your hands above head. Pray your hands at heart. If that feels good, anchoring your thumbs into the heart space. Keep squeezing your right thigh. Don't look at your teacher. Loose foot drops. Good. Beautiful. Another 3 breaths here. Engage the core muscles, steadiness and ease. One more deep breath in. Try not to press all the way into the right side, nice and long, so we're not creating like a half moon with that right side. One more deep breath in. Hold for the exhale. Hands to waist, steadiness and ease, yogis. Release left foot, draw that knee up, 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 up. Beautiful. Let's open up the knee a little bit, play around with that. Knee comes back into center, open up that left arm, open up the knee. Keep lifting. Beautiful, come back to center, right arm, knee comes across, little stretch for the Outer left hip. Nice for our balance here, yogis. Back to center, breath in, exhale. Woof, and release. Nice and gentle, huh? Go ahead and shake out the legs. Let me see how we're doing on time. All right, so I'm right on time. I'm going to go ahead and bring us down to the mat so we can begin to transition for our restorative practice. Going to take a wide-legged forward fold to bring us into downward facing dog, and we'll use downward facing dog to bring us down to the mat. So let's go ahead, start with hands on waist, step your feet nice and wide. Good. And for our wide-legged forward fold, again, your alignment cues, grounding down through the inner and outer edges of the feet. So we have that awareness of our feet, squeezing your thighs, everything active and engaged. We can start with hands on the waist. Inhale, press the heart forward, press the shoulders back. Exhale, you can fold halfway. Pause here, see how this feels. If this is where you are, stay right here with a nice long spine. Otherwise, to keep coming down, deep breath in, exhale, fold it in. You can keep hands on the waist. You can drop hands to the mat. Use a yoga block or two here if that is available to you. You can place hands on your ankles, your shins. You can take a shoulder opener. So lots of options here. If you do have hands or fingertips onto the mat, walk the hands forward a movement or two, bring the gaze forward, flat back here, and then exhale to fold it in a little bit deeper. Again, grounding down through all edges of the feet. Squeeze the thighs, and anchor down through the feet. Deep breath in. Exhale out, letting everything go. Good. Maybe walk the hands over to the right foot. Walk the hands over to the left foot. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more full deep breath in. Exhale out. Beautiful, yogis. Nice and easy. We're going to walk the hands towards the left foot. Turn the left toes forward, right toes forward, a version of a lunge here. Plant your palms firmly onto the mat. Step that left foot back and press yourself up and back into the shape of an upside down V. Finding your way into downward facing dog. Hands are shoulder length apart. Ground down through the pads of the hands, so the pads of the thumb, the index finger, the pinkies, the balls of the hand, the heel of the palm. You might pedal the feet. You might come up onto the tippy toes and then release down to the heels. Deep breath in. Exhale, press belly towards thighs. Maybe shake the head a little bit here. Three or four more breaths. Beautiful. One more deep breath in here, yogis. Exhale out. Nice and easy. Come down to the knees. Find your way into tabletop. Line your shoulders up with your wrists. Toes can tuck or untuck, whatever feels good. And let's just do a little cow and cat before we transition into our restorative. Inhale for your cow, heart pressing forward, belly dropping. Exhale, pulling it all in, spine in the shape of a C for your cat. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. And just keep flowing at a pace that feels good for you, but one where you can feel that connection between breath and movement. Say 5 more here, yogis. Feel your breath. Two more. last one here, yogis. Exhale. Good. Let's all come back to that neutral spine. I invite you to untuck your toes here. Walk the hands forward as though we were going to come into downward facing dog, but keep the heels lifted in your tabletop. Drop the heart down to the mat, just coming into a puppy pose, what we call puppy pose. And the head can sort of suspend in air if that's where you are, or you can drop the forehead down to the mat. If it's available to you, you can even bring the chin to the mat. That's the deepest version of this. If you have to keep the head suspended in air, just bring the gaze slightly forward. Or again, rest your forehead, but keep those hips lifted. If we were in space together, I would take my hand between your shoulder blades and gently press the heart down to the mat, or press between the shoulder blades as though I were trying to press your heart down to the mat. But that is what we're looking for. One more full deep breath in and exhale out. Beautiful. Lift the head. Beautiful. And then coming on out and swing around to your knees or whatever's comfortable for you. And let's go ahead and begin to shift into our restorative practice. So our first posture that we're going to take is called a simple supported back bend. And so your props here, I'm going to use a yoga bolster for my back and a folded up blanket to support my head, neck, and shoulders. So that's going to go at the top of the mat. Now, remember, if you don't have a bolster, you can use your actual yoga mat, roll it up, and then place that under your back if you're okay lying on your floor. If you have two pillows that you can use, anything that can just help to create a little back bend for you and your back. So use what you have. And then what we're going to do is take your bolster or your bolster-like prop, place it across the mat so that when you come to lie down, it's just under, it's coming across rather the center of the back. Good. So this is a newer bolster. It's still kind of tight and taut. So if you come back, and so I know for me, sometimes when my head tilts back, I struggle with benign vertigo sometimes. So sometimes bringing my head all the way back can just cause that vertigo-ish feeling. So if you find that your back dip is too deep, either cushion up more under head, neck, and shoulders so that you're meeting sort of your meeting that dip where it is, if that makes sense. So just put cushion up with more pillows. You might even take a block and place it under your pillows, but something that can help to just kind of lift the head a little bit more if that back bend dip feels too deep. When we arrive, we're going to take this with the knees bent. So we're going to come on back. Oh, this feels so good. I did say I was going to hold it for just a minute, right? I don't know. I might have to hang out here with you guys. Okay, so we're going to bend the knees. And you know my rule, adjust and readjust until it feels just right. So if you're just feeling like, oh, it's almost there, but I just gotta do this or that, do the this or that so that you're not spending the time that we're going to be in this posture feeling uncomfortable or focusing on the thing. The goal of our restorative practice is to just be there. So if you read my newsletter this week where I highlighted this practice of restorative yoga, it is a practice of deep relaxation, of present deep relaxation. So the arms can come between the space, between your support for your head and your bolster. So you can either take cactus arms if that feels good, or just drop the arms down or bring the arms out to the side like a T, or place hands on your belly, whatever feels good. And again, bending the knees. Feel the shoulders relax. This is a beautiful way to gently increase flexibility of the spine, open our heart chakra. And close the eyes or use your eye covering if you have that available. And stay with your breath. Is this the first time that you've had a chance to really check in with yourself this week? So, restorative is a practice that invites us to not consume, so not taking stuff in, and not produce, right? So, not thinking of output, but really just to notice, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? An eclipse season can feel really rough. It can feel like things are falling apart. It can feel like things are falling together, but it can feel like change that might just be happening in a rapid or big way. And so sometimes in our daily lives, we're just working to keep up with that change. And so we want to take this moment of stillness just to notice how our central nervous system is doing, to give the central nervous system a moment to down regulate. Stay with your breath. Take about 5 more breaths here. Taking one more full deep breath in and exhaling out. Beautiful. Adding or inviting some gentle movement into the body. Wiggle your fingers, your toes. Just gently, gently, gently coming out of or coming into awareness as we come out of this posture. And then, yogis, what we're going to do here is take a little bridge pose, but just to move the bolster down. If you find that it's better for you to kind of roll to one side, press yourself up to set yourself up from here, you can do that. But if you think of bridge pose, so let's draw those heels in as much as you can towards the bum. Gently lift the hips just enough so that you can release that bolster from your back, from the center of the back. And we're going to slide it down to the lower back so that the hips can rest on the bolster. So what we're going to be taking is an elevated twist using this bolster. Now, what you can also add to this once we arrive in the twist is a blanket between the legs. So if there's extra support that you want to place between the knees, you can do that. If you find that the bolster is just clunky and not supportive, you can remove the bolster, maybe instead place it between the knees. And what we're going to do is just twist the bottom half of our body. We're actually not going to turn the head to the right or the left. We're going to keep the torso nice and centered. The arms can come out to the side like a T when we come to rest here. So what we're going to do is draw the knees into the chest. You can either hug the knees in for a moment here if you want to do that, or just keep the knees drawn in with the arms out to the side like a T. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, drop those knees all the way to the left. Try to keep the shoulders anchored down. And so the knees will be lifted a little bit here. This is where the blanket might come into handy, placing the blanket between the knees. If you find that you just need to come out and adjust the bolster a little bit so that you are able to more comfortably rest in this twist, you can do that. You can walk the knees out a little bit more, maybe even walk the legs out a little bit more. But you do want to try and keep some support for the hips under or using your bolster if you're using this prop. Keep the head centered. Take about 10 more breaths on this side. And let's take another deep breath in here. Exhale out. And then let's draw the knees back into the chest. Pause here for a moment. So a question was, or a comment was entered in the chat box. I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. And adding this bolster can definitely make this feel a little bit different. So again, just keep playing around until you find that right place. So let's drop the knees to the right. And again, if the bolster feels like it's just getting in the way, go ahead and remove the bolster. Just take the blanket between the knees, a pillow between the knees. Maybe draw the knees a little bit higher. So you may just have to play around until you find sort of the right sweet spot. This is actually my first time offering a twist with a bolster here. It might feel a little more accessible on one side than the other. But you might also notice how the bolster facilitates a little bit of a deeper twist. So I'm really experiencing that here myself on this right side. Stay with your breath. Let's take 10 more deep breaths in here. Exhale out. Beautiful, beautiful deep breath in and exhale out. Now you can bring the knees into the chest if you want to hug the knees in here. Otherwise, if you feel ready to come on out of this, since you're already to the right, you can bring the entire body to the right side or hug the knees into the chest and then bring the entire body to the right side. Gently press yourself up. And what we're going to do is set up for our last restorative posture before we move into Shavasana, which is a restorative child's pose. It's been a while since we've done that. So what we're going to do is use our bolster or our bolster-like prop, and you can place a blanket on top of it. Remember, you can also use a whole bunch of pillows, just stack up, use what you have. Now we're going to take the bolster between the legs. Good. So we have our child's pose foundation, big toes in to touch, knees the width of the mat. And then we're just going to go ahead, walk ourselves onto the bolster using the arms. You can come to rest on the left side of the face or the right side, whatever speaks to you or whatever kind of comes to you naturally, because we're going to rest on the opposite side of the face as well. Gently drop the elbows down to the mat, soften your shoulders. You can also fold up the arms and rest the head on the arms if that feels good. Some folks like to hug their bolster, which can feel nurturing and nourishing. Soften your shoulders, press your hips back, and just allow yourself to be. Stay with your breath. If we were in our space together, I would gently come and place my hands on your lower back. Gently press the lower back down, press the hips down. Not to force the bum to the heels, but just to facilitate a nice deep stretch in the lower back space. Another tip for your home practice, if this feels good for you, is to place a blanket or cushioning under the feet to make this really squishy. You can also place a blanket or pillow beneath the bum, so beneath the bum and between the bum and the heels. And a full deep breath in here. Exhale. With the next inhale, gently lift the head, and as you exhale, turn to the opposite cheek. Soften the shoulders, rest the arms. Exhale a full deep breath in here. And exhale. With the inhale, gently lift the head away from the bolster. Take your time, walking the hands back into the body. Now, as always, if this feels good, you can stay here for your Shavasana. Otherwise, let's go ahead and take your pillow, blanket, cushion, whatever you have to support the head, neck, and shoulders. Place that back at the top of the mat. And then using your bolster or your bolster-like prop, what we're going to do is place that under the knees. And then nice and easy, come to lie on back, supporting the head, the neck, and the shoulders with the blanket. Now, if you have an extra prop and you want to place something under the back as well, yogi's choice. Or if you want to take the bolster under the heels instead, yogi's choice. Otherwise, if this feels good to have the support under the knees, you can do that. Arms coming alongside the body if that feels good, or walking the arms out a little wider. Soften your shoulders, closing the eyes or using your eye covering if you have that. Relaxing the muscles of the face, the jawline. Taking a big, beautiful deep breath in. And as you exhale, just feeling everything release and let go. Just really letting everything go into the mat. Feel the legs release, the arms, the fingers, the toes, the jawline, the mind. Staying anchored to your breath here. As you rest here, I'm going to share a passage from Meditations from the Mat, Daily Reflections on the Path of Yoga. And this passage opens up with a quote: "Becoming human means discovering our fullness and learning to live from it. Bring your all to your practice. Do not use it as a means to control your weight or your appearance or the effects of aging or anything else. Let your practice be a means to discover your fullness. Be vulnerable, be sad, be happy, be mad, but be there. Just let it happen. Life is about giving, and through giving, we receive everything that we need. Let your practice be about giving. Give of your heart, give of your spirit, give of your virtue. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world." Returning to gentle awareness, inviting gentle movement into the body, wiggling your fingers, your toes, circling around your ankles and your wrists. You might bend your knees and rest your feet on the bolster, or draw the knees into the chest, and either way, gently rock the knees from side to side. Maybe turning your head from side to side or tilting your head up and down. Gently rocking all the way to your right side, resting in a fetal position here with the head supported by the hands. Pausing as you take another breath in and exhale out. Using the hand that's closest to the earth to very gently press yourself up into a comfortable seated posture. You can rest with your hands on your thighs, in your lap, on your belly, at your heart. Just taking a moment, not only to reflect on this practice today, but again, the energy of this week. So maybe you don't subscribe to any of the solar eclipse energy, but you have been noticing that the week has felt a little bit off or a little bit extra, if you would. Or maybe you do subscribe to the solar eclipse energy and you're keenly aware of how that energy has been moving through your life. But here, I just want you to, as you reflect on that, just reflect on how you've been responding, what you've been noticing, and how this restorative practice, this practice of really taking time for yourself, of really nourishing yourself, just noticing the response there and how this practice can be of support for you, honoring yourself for making this time for yourself. And as you were resting, I decided to pull a card from the I Am Everything affirmation card deck. And the card that I pulled is I am receptive. The message is I am open to new ideas. I am willing to try different methods, and I consider alternate viewpoints. I welcome intellectual stimulation. I am receptive. And I feel like that definitely aligns with this message of change, that we talked about, whether it's good change or change that's uncomfortable, right? Just being open to the change in general, knowing that it's playing a role in our lives, whether we can see it in the present moment or whether it reveals itself down the line. But just trying to lean into that space of divine trust. And believe me, that is something I have to remind myself often, over and over again, just leaning into divine trust and knowing that everything is working out for your greater good. And that right now, in this moment, you are exactly where you're meant to be. And so, even if it's simply just being open to that, right? Being open to trust, but saying that affirmation to yourself, I am receptive, which is a nice affirmation to say when you're feeling that resistance, right? You can just say to yourself, I am receptive, So maybe using that as a mantra, if you would. And saying to yourself here silently or out loud, thank you. I love you. I trust you. I forgive you. And together, let's take another beautiful deep breath in. Exhale the air out. May we all be happy. May we all be free. May we all be peaceful, easeful, useful, and joyful. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. And namaste.